Hi dear students, dear friends, welcome to Gallant IAS. Our prelims examination is just over. Now we will have to focus on our mains part of preparation. Our GS 1, 2, 3, 4 plus our optional. Prelims, for some students it was a moderate paper, paper 1. And for some students it was very tough paper. Whatever, that difficulty level varies from person to person, but still there are 35-40 questions safe in your hands, and there are areas where you could have applied your smart guess. So anyway, don't worry about the papers, be it GS1, GS2, CSAT, whatever. Now you focus on your mains preparation. Here we will be solving all the questions subject wise. Let's have an analysis of history and culture questions from prelims 2020. This is the way I divided. Around 20 questions being asked from history this year, 4 questions from ancient India, 3 questions from medieval India, 9 questions from modern India, art and culture 4 questions. This is the way I divided. Somebody may use, like, for example, since Buddhism, Jainism, that is part of our ancient history, I just took that Buddhism, Jainism questions into history, ancient history part. So division is like, ancient 4 questions, medieval 3 questions, modern 9 questions, art and culture 4 questions, total 20 questions. Now here, the modern India part was, comparatively, it was easy to answer, but some difficult questions were there. I mean, if you read spectrum, it is quite difficult to answer. But one who read like cover that Shegar Bandobade, Plashi to partition, for them it will be, I mean, some question. For example, Ragmabhai case, 1884. So there are some such questions which are answerable from advanced books. Okay. Now this is first one, Gandhi Irving Pact included which of the following? This is one of the easiest question, I would say, because this is directly from our classes, or this is directly from what you have learned. Gandhi Irving Pact. You know that the first round table conference was a failure. Then this British realized Indian National Congress participation is essential for success of such a round table conferences for constitutional reforms. Then there is an agreement between Gandhiji and Irving, that is known as Gandhi Irving Pact or Delhi Pact. Invitation to Congress to participate in the round table conference. Exactly. That is one of the main agenda of this Gandhi Irving Pact. So the first statement is, that is a correct statement. Okay, that is a correct statement. If the first statement is correct, you come to the answer code. You can easily eliminate C and D. Okay, you eliminated C and yes, you eliminated C and D. Now the remaining options are A and B only. You understood that first statement is correct. Now you just check the validity of the second statement or fourth statement. Okay, so yeah, let us take the fourth statement. Release of only those prisoners who are not charged with violence. Exactly. Release of those political prisoners who are not charged with violence. For example, in the same Gandhi Irving talks, Gandhiji's demand for withdrawal of the death sentences to revolutionary leaders like Bhagat Singh and his comrades, that was turned down by Viceroy. Okay, that is why Gandhiji faced huge criticism and protest when he went to participate in the Karachi session of the Congress and all. So we know that according to this Gandhi Irving Pact, there is a condition, release of only those prisoners who are not charged with violence. Okay, those charged with violence, they will be punished. Okay, so fourth statement is a correct one, so we make the answer which is 1, 2 and 4 only. That means third statement is automatically not correct. Second statement is also correct. Yes, withdrawal of ordinances promulgated in connection with the civil disobedience movement. All such ordinances being withdrawn. Okay, so all these makes your answer 1, 2 and 4 only. That is, Bombay is your answer. Yeah, in the session we already done this. Okay, in the session we have done this in the respective session class, civil disobedience movement. We discussed the salient features of proposals of Gandhi Irving Pact. Now, which of the following statements correctly explain the impact of Industrial Revolution on India during the first half of 19th century? During the first half of 19th century. 19th century means Yes, this is known as 19th century. You know that in India, railway is introduced in 1853. Bombay to Thane, you know, Dalhousie's reforms, you know. So this is asking about the impact of this industrial revolution in India during the first half of 19th century till 1850. Okay, so you know that when industrial revolution happened in England, automatically what happened? India become, yes, we know that India become a supplier of raw material, a supplier of raw material. India became a supplier of raw material and India became a buyer of British products. India became a buyer of British products. Okay, because industrialized nations in Europe, they treated their colonies as the free markets for selling their goods, and also from the colonies they accumulated maximum quantity of raw material for industrial production in their mother country. So India became a supplier of raw materials and buyer of British products. And due to this, what happened in India is definitely it was deindustrialization. It was deindustrialization, you all know that. And the biggest suffering or people in the suffering end, you know, that was Indian handicraft. Indian handicraft workers or craftsmen, artisans, they were in the most suffering end. So Indian handicrafts were ruined. That is the best implication or best impact of this industrial revolution on India in the first half of 19th century. Okay, machines were never introduced in the first half of 19th century. Then railway lines, I told you, that is in the second half of 19th century. Heavy duties were imposed on import of British manufacturers. Never. They were offered a free trade policies. Lord Lytton and his reforms, etc. You heard already. Okay. So heavy duties never imposed on imports of British manufacturers. In fact, heavy imported duties imposed on Indian goods in European countries, European markets. Okay. So here the best answer is A, which is one only. I mean A, Indian handicrafts were ruined. It's an easy question. You can easily guess the answer. With reference to history of India, Ulgulan the Great, yes, Tamulat is description of which of the following events. We already discussed tribal movements in India. Okay, tribal uprisings we already discussed. There we discussed Munda rebellion also. Munda rebellion under Birsa Munda, and this was an attempt to re-establish their Munda Raj. Their indigenous Munda Raj, their cultural, social, economic privileges they wanted to re-establish. Okay, that was that Munda rebellion, which is regarded as, okay, this Munda rebellion is regarded as this Ulgulan. Okay, so that's a term we discussed, we covered in our session, yeah, which is D, Delhi is the answer. Well, let's re-establish Fort William College at Calcutta, because this also we already discussed in our regular session. We have seen, yes, the major governor generals, viceroys, etc. we covered. Also, we discussed their major reforms. What were the major reforms? Their educational reforms, administrative reforms, or maybe the law reforms, legislative reforms, or maybe civil service reforms, etc. we discussed. Okay. Now here Wellesley, why he established Fort William College at Calcutta? Intention was he wanted to train British civilians for administrative purposes in India, because they were not educated in Indian languages, Indian culture. So for British East India Company's administration in India, it was very necessary for them to have trained British administrators for handling Indian affairs. Okay, wanted to train British civilians for administrative purposes in India. D makes your answer. Indigo cultivation in India declined by beginning of 20th century. This is also simply answered from what we discussed in our regular sessions. We know, yes, we discussed Champaran Satyagraha and all. When there is synthetic German dye was introduced in the international market, yes, these European planters, they started imposing heavy taxes, heavy duties on Indian farmers, Indian indigo cultivators, in order to compensate their loss in the international market. So we know that indigo cultivation in India declined by beginning of 20th century because, yes, it's unprofitability in the world market because of new inventions. Okay, that is your answer, because German synthetic dye is being introduced to the international market. So Indian indigo that lost its I mean, they are cheaper. Okay, German synthetic dyes, they are cheaper. So that is why Indian indigo lost its market in international trade. And of course, what happened? Then these indigo, I mean these planters, these European planters in India, they started imposing heavy taxes on Indian farmers in order to compensate their loss in the international market. Then the Indian farmers, Indian indigo cultivators, they reacted. And best reflection we have seen Champaran Satyagraha. Okay, so it's unprofitability in the world market because of new inventions. Bombay is your answer. The Vidwan Sag, the first monthly journal to have untouchable people as its target audience, was published by. Of course, this is like if you covered these literary works, literary contributions, you could have answered this. Gobal Baba Valankar, he is the author of this famous work. This kind of the questions also sometimes, I mean, such factual questions sometimes may confuse you, but he was a great reformer. He was a great reformer of this, reformer for untouchables in Maharashtra. He belonged to Mahar caste, and it is through his literary works, yes, he protested this Brahminical dominancy in the socio-cultural economic sphere. The context of Indian history, Ragmabhai or Ragmabhai case of 1884 revolved around. It was in the news, recently in the news we have seen, recently this Pune Zilla Parishad, they rolled out a scheme, a financial scheme for these COVID-19 patients. I mean, it's an insurance scheme for, or it is a financial support scheme for uninsured COVID-19 patients in the private hospitals. Okay, she was the first qualified physician of India, and in her name, this Pune Zilla Parishad, I mean, to fight this, or that is to provide financial support to COVID-19 uninsured patients, you know, to provide them financial support in the private hospital treatments. This scheme was introduced. Anyway, that scheme was named after Ragmabhai or Ragmabhai. She was the first qualified physician of India. This case was in 1884. So that is why I say, if you are only covering these blindly following spectrum is basically a guide. If you are only following spectrum, you will be trapped, because in-depth questions UPSC asks from history, and you see around 20 questions they asked from history. Okay, so this is one of the very core area. Books like Biban Chandra, Shekhar Bandopade, Grover, etc. you have to cover very well for a good understanding, concept understanding of history. Okay. So women's right to gain education, it is not about gaining education, it is about age of consent. I mean, this was in her age of 11. Yes, she was married to like Dadaji Bikaji. She was not ready to live with him. Then her husband filed a suit, a case, and that is for restitution of conjugal rights. Then she said she is not willing to like live with him. She prefers to live with her mother and stepfather. Then finally, the court judgment was like this: either she has to join him within 1 month, otherwise she has to face six months imprisonment. She prefers 6 months imprisonment. Then there is Queen Victoria's intervention and dissolved this marriage. She was given a compensation. Then she pursued her studies. She went to London, and she was the first qualified physician of India. And it is because of her long fight, finally, Age of Consent Act, that is limiting this minimum age for marriage for boys and girls. Age of Consent Act was passed in 1891. So this is something which is revolving around this age of consent and restitution of conjugal rights. I mean, 2 and 3 makes your answer. Deshar Kada, written by Shakaram Ganesh during the freedom struggle, consider the following. This is also maybe a strange question for you, but sometimes you can apply. Sometimes you can apply what is called your logic, you can simply apply. For example, use of Desh by Deshkar was in specific context of the region of Bengal. Desh, Swadeshi, Swadesh, Swaraj. So Desh, he is not used for specific region of Bengal. In fact, this is to represent the entire India. Okay, so that kind of logic you can apply. This is a movement which given. This is a book which promoted. It inspired the performance of Swadeshi street plays and folk songs, etc. So Swadeshi is something as a whole. It is indigenous. It is by Indians, for Indians, of Indians. You see that concept is there. It should not be specific with a particular region. Okay. So if you think like that, you can eliminate the third statement. Then your answer has to be 1 and 2 only, because you can easily, if third statement is eliminated, means you see B, C, D all eliminated. Your answer will be A, 1 and 2 only. In fact, your answer has to be 1 and 2 only. Okay, 1 and 2 only. A is your answer. One common agreement between Gandhism and Marxism. Simple. This fact is very simple. When you study Gandhi's philosophies, Gandhi's ideas, you know that yes, both are focused on final goal of a stateless society. Okay, Marxism believes in continuous class struggles between these proletariat, or maybe between these haves and have-nots, and final result is formation of a stateless society. Gandhiji also believed in formation of a stateless society. There should not be any political bondings or political bindings, and there should be self-rule by the people, the common people. Okay, that a village, a self-sufficient village economy or village autonomy, etc. concept is there. No political mechanism, no political so-called centralized machinery, administrative machinery, nothing should be there. There should be a stateless society. This is a common idea. Their methods are different, but their common goal, stateless society, Ram Rajya, which is defined by Gandhiji, and of course, this is stateless society defined by Marxism or Marxist thought. Both have the similarity. Class struggle, abolition of private property, economic determinism. They have different ideas. I mean, Gandhiji, Marx, Karl Marx, they had different ideas regarding class struggle, abolition of private property. Gandhiji was totally against to violence. Marxists believed there is nothing wrong in violence for establishing a stateless society. Abolition of private property, Marx was totally against private property. Gandhiji believed there is nothing wrong with the private property, but these owners must treat themselves as the trustees of these properties. I mean, these private properties must be utilized for the welfare of public. Economic determinism, Gandhiji's idea, Marxist idea is totally different. So common idea is A only. Whom of the following rulers advised his subjects through this inscription? So this is Girnar inscription. You go through various inscriptions of Ashoka. Okay, major rock edicts inscriptions are there, minor edicts are there, cave edicts are there. So this is, and also this is something very easily you can recognize. If you studied Ashoka and his Dhamma policy, from these lines you can easily recognize the ruler. Whoever praises his religious sect or blames other sect out of excessive devotion to his own sect, with the view of glorifying his own sect, he rather injures his own sect very severely. Okay, that is the policy, that is the Dhamma philosophy, or that is different aspects of Dhamma discussed in his edicts. Okay, this is about Ashoka the Great. A is your answer. With reference to scholars of ancient India, consider the following. This was also very recently, we have done a quick revision of ancient and medieval India. In fact, this was discussed in our that session also. Okay, Panini is associated with the Pushyamitra Sangha. No need. Chronology questions I already shared with you. Pushyamitra Sangha belongs to post-Maurya age. Okay, Panini belongs to Gupta age. Panini was a great grammarian. Okay, so he belongs to, we discussed those great luminaries at the court of Chandragupta II, Gupta ruler. So Panini, Pushyamitra, they have no connection. Pushyamitra, post-Mauryan ruler, and Panini, yes, it's a Guptan or Gupta age grammarian. Okay, so the first one is wrong. If the first one is wrong, definitely you can go for, yeah, definitely, you see, just look into the choices here. You can eliminate A, you can eliminate D. Okay, A and D you can eliminate, and you can understand that C, B and C, you see 3 is common in both the codes, B and C. That means third statement is the correct one. Now you check the validity of the second statement. Yes, Amarasingha is associated with Harshavardhana. No chance. Amarasingha, I told you, he was author of Amaragosha and he lived in the court of these Guptas only. Harshavardhana is a post-Gupta ruler. So second is wrong. Your answer has to be C, 3 only. Okay, 3 only is your answer. With reference to religious history of India, consider the following. Sraviravadans belong to Mahayana Buddhism. We know that in Buddhist councils, we studied Buddhist council 1, 2, 3, 4, and also we discussed the outcomes of each council. Okay. So in the second council, we have seen Buddhism divided like Sraviravadans, okay, or Sravastivadans, Mahasanghikas. That divisions we have seen in the second Buddhist council. Sraviravadans belong to Mahayana Buddhism. No, that belongs to Orthodox sect. That belongs to Hinayana sect. Not Mahayana is a liberal version. That is new sect. Okay, where these idol worships and all those things are there. But in Hinayana, that is the original. I mean, they follows the original teachings of Buddha. Okay. So the first statement is wrong. If first statement is wrong, you are eliminating choice. Yes, you see, A and D eliminated. A and D eliminated means, yes, A and D eliminated. Now only remaining B and C choices or codes are remaining. Let us check the, and B and C means again you can note that third is common in both the B and C. That means that is a correct one. Now you check this validity of the second statement. Lokottaravadin sect was an offshoot of Mahasangika sect of Buddhism. Okay, that is still a strange. I mean, I don't think you have covered it, but still it is part of Mahasangika sect. When you study in detail, I mean, those students with the history optional, they have an advantage, I think, here. So Logotravadin sect was an offshoot of Mahasangika sect of Buddhism. That is second statement is the correct one. So your answer has to be 2 and 3 only. Bombay is your answer. Okay. See, deification of Buddha by Mahasangika fostered the Mahayana Buddhism. Exactly, that is true. There is worship of idols of Buddha. So 2 and 3 is your answer. Bombay is your answer. With reference to this Gupta age in ancient India, towns Gandashala, Kadura and Chaul were well known as the ports handling foreign trade. They are ports handling foreign trade. So I think if you have covered, this is also something in detail. If you go for Ubender Singh, you see the ancient port cities. Periples of Athens, he also give us some important port cities, port centers during ancient times. Okay, on the west coast, east coast, etc. Now here also this is Gandashala, Kadura, Chaul. These are some important ports handling foreign trade during ancient times. Hundi is a phrase, this we already discussed, and I think we covered in our daily poll test of Gallant IAS poll test. We have done it. Hundi or Hundi, that is bill of exchange. That is a bank draft. Okay, Indian merchants they used to give this. So this is Hundi is a bill of exchange. C is the answer. With reference to history of India, consider the following. Aurang, no idea. You don't have any idea, but Aurang is warehouses. Okay. But the banyan merchants are still popular in Indian society. Banyans, banyans of Bengal still popular. Banyans are Indian agent of the East India Company. Yes, they were intermediaries. They were local merchants. They connected these British East India Company agents with the local producers. They were intermediaries. They were intermediaries, intermediary merchants. Okay, traders. So Banyan, the Indian agent of East India Company, that is true. Then see, Mirasi, the designated revenue payer of the state. This is something which is related to Riotuari land revenue settlement in the Madras presidency. Thomas Munro introduced that Riotuari land revenue settlement in the Madras presidency. So before that, there is Mirasidars. Mirasidars means they are designated revenue payers to the state. That is true. They are landowners and payers of revenue to the state. Okay, Mirasidar. 2 and 3 makes your answer. Bombay is your answer. Consider the following events in the history. Rise of Pratikaras under King Bhoja, Mihir Bhoja. Establishment of Pallava rule under Mahendra Varman first. Establishment of Chola power by Parandaga. Pala dynasty founded by Gobala. So this is again a smart work you can apply. You know that Cholas, Imperial Cholas comes after Pallavas only. Okay, you studied that tripartite struggle in the North Indian region, etc. So rise of Pratikaras under King Bhoja, that is in the 9th century AD. Establishment of Pallava power under Mahendra Varman 7th century. Establishment of Chola power by Parandaga first 10th century. So Uttaramerur inscriptions belonging to his time. Pala dynasty founded by Gobala 8th century. Pala dynasty which is Bengal dynasty. Okay. So we have seen the Pala Pratikaras and these Rashtrakutas were engaged in that tripartite struggle in the early medieval India history. So according to this, your answer is, I think, C makes your answer. 2, 4, 3, 1. Okay. 2, 4, then 2, 4, 1, 3. 2, 4, 1, 3. That makes your answer. Okay, C is your answer. With reference to the history of India, the terms Kulyavaba and Dronavaba, they denote what? It's all about measurement of land. Okay, different land measurements used in these ancient times. Kulyavaba, Dronavaba, etc. used in Bengal. Then Nivartana or Bhumi in central India, or Nivartana, Padavartha, they are used in this western India. So they are land measuring tools or land measures, which is related to, terms are related to land measurement. This is a difficult question with reference to history of India. This can be a history question or a culture question. You see, Bilsa, Dwara, Samudra, Girinagar, Swaneshwara. Bilsa is a place where Alauddin Khalji led his military expeditions, which is in Madhya Pradesh too. Dwara Samudra, you know that Devagiri or this Yadava plunder, Alauddin Khalji sent his Mallika fort to plunder this Devagiri, and it is Hoysala kingdom. After that, it is Hoysala. So that is in Karnataka. Okay, Dwara Samudra, later known as Alebit, capital of Hoysalas. So that is not Maharashtra. That is Karnataka. So second is wrong. Girinagar, it is Gujarat. You know that. Girinagar is Gujarat. So first one is correct and third one is correct. So easily you can make the answer, which is 1 and 3 only. 1 and 3 only. Staneshwara Mahadev temple. Yeah, that is in Haryana, not in Uttar Pradesh. Cultural history again, Paramidas. We already discussed. You remember Buddhism Jainism terminology series. We discussed various terminology of Buddhism Jainism. We discussed. So paramitas are perfectionist or perfections whose attainment led to bodhisattva path. This we covered in our Buddhism Jainism terminology series. But then with reference to cultural history of India, consider the following pairs: Parivrajaka, Shramana, Ubasaka. Even if you don't know other two, you know that Shramana tradition. We heard Buddhism, Jainism, they are Shramanic religions. Shramanas means they are anti-Brahminical. They give no importance to this so-called priesthood. There is no importance to priesthood. That is, wanderer or ascetic. Okay, they are in search of salvation. They are in search of truth. Okay, so Shramana tradition, we know that Buddhism, Jainism, Shramanic traditions, and they are against this priesthood, or they are against the Brahminical dominancy or priest dominancy in the religious affair. Okay, so Shramana tradition, priest with high status, Shramanas then never recognize priest. Okay, they are against priesthood. So the second, that is wrong one, you can eliminate. By simply eliminating the second one, you reach out the right answer. You see, yes, answer code A contains 2, answer code C contains 2, answer code D also contains 2. So eliminate them, then you will easily reach out the answer, which is Bombay. 1 and 3 only. 1 and 3 is your answer. Okay, 1 and 3 is your answer. So anyway, yes, this is we have done in this terminology series. Anyway, this is the way all subject wise analysis will be uploaded very soon, one by one. So all of you, like, just avoid learning this. See, if the score is not good, don't worry. This is not a time for like what is called regretting or something like that. Don't worry. You just focus on, you switch over to this mains part of the preparation. Focus on mains part. Prepare very well. Okay. So cutoff will be something around 90 or 100. Okay, that will be the cutoff. No need to worry about your scores now. What will be the score in GS1 or CSAT, etc. Just leave it. Okay, and now you focus on your mains preparation. Okay, even if you are not giving this year also, doesn't matter. Prepare thoroughly and just think very positively. Okay, don't worry about the scores and results, etc. Focus on your mains preparation. And GS 1, 2, 3, 4 plus you are optional. The next 2-3 months, yes, you give quality time on your mains preparation, your answer writing and test series, etc. Okay, all the best.